Okay, good afternoon, class. So at this point, we're just looking at the last lesson on analytical geometry. Before we go into the revision exercise, the exercise that you had to do for homework and you have marked already, that was sometime last week. We didn't have time to actually have a lesson on this. So this is an after-school lesson in which we just trying to wrap up analytical geometry. Next week we're going to do the same with the other section that we haven't wrapped up, which is 3D. You people don't even know what you are busy with. 3D problems. Okay, it's not too much because I've many done it before you. Just think about it. Remember that many have done it before you. You're not the first that is saying, "Oh, it's heavy, difficult, too much." It's normal. Okay. What you just need to do is sacrifice your time. Put the time in, it will pay off at the end. Okay? So, with regards to analytical geometry, there's that one example that I got wrong. Okay, they wanted me for a while. Wanted. Okay, so let's try again. Okay? So we are told that determine the equation of the tangent to a tangent to the circle x squared plus y squared equals 10 from the point T, which is near 5 and negative 5. So as you can see from that illustration of that drawing there, that we will have two tangents, basically. Okay, we will have two tangents that's going through that thing. Alright. So what we do is, we let M be AB, point AB. So if M is point AB, then what can be concluded from here? If I substitute AB into the circle, so let's substitute M, which is AB, into the circle, then my circle is now going to read A squared plus B squared is equal to 10. That's all. Why do I substitute into the circle? Because I want to get two equations in terms of AB. Why do you want that? So that you can do simultaneous equations. Okay? So we're going to make B the subject of the formula there. I've worked it out already. So you take A squared over, you take the square root thereof. So B is equal to plus minus the square root of 10 minus B squared, A squared. Okay. So as you can see here, what do you know about B? Is this on the negative or the positive part of your x-axis? I'm sorry, of your y-axis. It's on the negative part of your y-axis. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to drop this positive plus minus and put a negative there. So currently, my coordinates of M now would be A and negative square root 10 minus A squared. You all agree with that? You all okay with that?
Sir?
Yes. You see, because, if I go positive, negative, this here is your negative part of your y-axis, that's your positive part of your y-axis. Can you see that? So one, of course, is positive, one is negative. What I'm looking at is M, which is the negative one. Okay? Right. So what we do now is we work out the gradient. So we're going to use this soon. So what we do is we work out the gradient of OM. The gradient of OM would simply be, so since M is now this coordinate, don't forget now. How do we work out the gradient of OM? It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's 0 and 0. So it's going to be b minus 0, but b is negative root 10 minus a squared minus 0 over a minus 0, which simply gives us negative root 10 minus a squared over a. Okay, so that is one equation, one expression for MO. As we know that is standing perpendicular to that, so we know that the gradient of OM times the gradient of MT is equal to -1. So I'm going to set up that equation now. Okay? So now we need the gradient of MT. So we got the gradient of MT again, change in y, but change in x. Okay? So it's going to be -5 minus b, which is negative, minus root 10 minus a squared, which will give you positive root 10 minus a squared, and you got 5 minus a. Alright. So what we know from here is that the product of the two gradients must be equal to -1. Why? Because they are perpendicular. So we say that the gradient of OM times the gradient of MT is equal to -1. So what's your gradient of OM? It's negative root 10 minus a squared over a times the gradient of MT, which is negative 5 plus the root of 10 minus a squared over 5 minus a is equal to -1. So from here, I'm going to divide both sides by this fraction here. Alright, so it's going to be negative 5 plus the root of 10 minus a squared over 5 minus a is equal to a over the root of 10 minus a squared. Remember, -1 divided by negative square root of 10 minus a squared over a. The negatives cancel, that's number 1, and the fraction will flip it out. Alright, so what do I do now? I can cross multiply. So that's going to give you negative a squared plus 5 is equal to negative 5 times the root 10 minus a squared is negative 5 root 10 minus a squared plus root 10 minus a squared times root 10 minus a squared is 10 minus a squared. So what you should have noted here at this point is that negative a squared cancels negative a squared. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the root, which means to say get the root on its own. So we take that over, it now gives us negative 5 is equal to negative 5 root 10 minus a squared. So we're going to square both sides, and if we can divide by negative 5 first. No. Okay, divide by negative 5 both sides. So 1 is equal to the root of 10 minus a squared. Square both sides, so it's 10 minus a all squared is equal to 1. Take the 10 over, it becomes minus 10. Divide by negative 1 is 9. The square root thereof, a is equal to plus minus 3. Now if you look at where m lies, yes?
Is this the substitution of the
Yeah. I made a mistake somewhere. Yep. This must be minus a squared minus 5. Made my mistake. Take it back again. Sorry? What do you say?
Miss Dixon's class is confused because we only did the elimination.
The what?
Elimination.
Elimination. Didn't you guys do substitution?
No.
Dangerous? But let's cross multiply. So that's going to give you negative 5 root 10 minus a squared plus root 10 minus a squared times root 10 minus a squared is going to be 10 minus a squared is equal to it's going to give you 5a minus a squared. What's your question?
Wait,
Sorry?
What were you saying?
I wrote earlier on just 5 and not 5a. That was my mistake. Okay, so of course the a negative a squares cancel. So it's going to be negative 5 root 10 minus a squared is equal to 5a minus 10. Now divide by negative 5. So you will get the root of 10 minus a squared is equal to minus a plus 2. Now as we know the root is isolated. So square both sides is going to be 10 minus a squared is equal to a squared minus 4a plus 4. So 0 is equal to 2a squared minus 4a minus 6. So what you do is you use a quadratic formula or your factors or whatever you use. It's going to be 2, negative 4, negative 6. It's going to give you 3 and negative 1. So a is equal to 3 or a is equal to negative 1. Which one of the two you think we are going to be interested in? It's going to be the negative 1. Why? Because as you can see it's a negative part of your x-axis. Can you see that? So what do I need to do? I need to solve the b still. But we know that b is equal to that stored here. Okay? So it's going to be negative root. Your a value is negative 1, so it's 10 minus negative 1 squared. Which is going to give you 9. The square root of 9 is 3, so negative 3. So therefore m's coordinate is negative 1 and negative 3. Of course the other one is going to be 3 and I think 1. You put you're going to put 3 through there, yeah, it's going to be 1. But remember, what is the question? The question is to find the tangent. So I'm just going to do this one. The other one I'm sure you guys know how to do. Okay? So to get the gradient of the tangent is now simple. Since m is negative 1 and negative 3, and it's coming from this point of, what's it, k or something? T, which is 5 and negative 5. Let's just pull the reference down quickly. This is example 5 on page 195. I'm going to see now where I went wrong. So the gradient of the tangent is going to be minus 5 minus minus 3, which is plus 3, and 5 minus minus 1. So it's going to be negative 2 over 6, which is negative a third. So y is equal to negative a third x plus c. We substitute t, which is 5 and minus 5. So that's an x and a y. So you've got negative 5 is equal to negative 1 over 3 times 5 plus c. So c works out to be, that's negative 5 negative 5 plus 1 over 3 times 5 gives you negative 10 over 3. So therefore your one equation is y is equal to negative a third x minus 10 over 3. That's the one. The other one you can work out now. Now coming back to where I went wrong, let me just check now. So I got that, plus minus, this is fine. Okay. I worked in terms of b. It also should be okay. 18, the gradient of 18. We went for this point initially. So the gradient of 18, that was right. Okay. Then I went to the gradient of b minus o over a. Right, that is also correct. Then I multiply the two gradients. I divided both sides. I think my mistake was of keeping that plus and minus there. So if I divide throughout by 5, which I also did, just check here. So we got the root 10 minus a squared is equal to a plus 2. That is fine. Oh, here we go. I have to take this over the equal sign. Then it was going to give you 0 is equal to 2b squared minus 4b minus 6. Then I should have gotten the sum right. That's it. I have to take it one step further. I would have gotten the answer. So all the steps I was applying there was actually correct. Absolutely correct. My only mistake was I didn't take it further. 3 and negative 1. But anyway. That's easy. 3 and negative 1 is okay. Okay, so we went there. It's because I'm keeping this plus and minus and I think that is the issue. So then B would have been 3 and minus 1. So that one is 3 and here definitely minus 1. So that was in order. Now to get the A value, if I substitute 3 in here, it would have given you 10 minus 9, which is 1. Which makes that point. So it's the other way around. It was 3 and 1. And the 1 and minus 1 and minus 3. But anyway, it's close but yet so far. Alright, let's just carry on with our lives. But this is how you basically do the sum. Okay. Now coming back to your assignment. Your assignment was exercise, the revision exercise test topic 9 on page 198. Okay. For those of you who is from the other class, we have all these the topics we do the revision test topic. Okay, in preparation for the upcoming exams. Okay. So they have marked this already, so they will just call out what the issues are. Okay. So any problems on number 1? Number 2? Number 3? Number 4? Number 5? You guys do the work. You got your script in front of you. Number 6? Number 7?
Yes, sir.
Let's look at 7. Page 198. Number 8? Number 9?
Yes, sir.
Yes? The NVT. Okay. When you're writing? 21st of May. Number 10? Number 11? Number 12? Number 13? Number 14? Number 15? Huh? Number 15 is very similar to number 9. Number 15 is very similar to number 9. I'm going to do number 9. I got number 9 already. Number 16. Well, what's going to happen from here onwards, you'll see that the same type of question gets repeated all the time.
So the number 16 was what?
16. Okay, I'll send you a copy of the memo of this. Do you have the memo of this? Go through the memo, work through it, and then if you still have a problem, then we will have a look at what the issue is, okay? What the issues are. Let's just look at a few of these here quickly, and then we will start with what you were saying on that side, okay? On which page is this on? Okay, so let's go through number 7 quickly. In number 7, we're given that x squared minus 2x plus y squared minus 16y plus 39 is equal to 0 with center A and the y-intercept at 0 and 9 and 0 and q, where p is less than q. So if you draw what they are telling you here, okay, determine the values of p and q. So firstly, I need to first write this in the general form. So you got x squared minus 2x plus y squared minus 16y plus a number equals minus 39. So what number must be added here in the first case? 1 squared, and here you must add, divide by, multiply by half, which is 8, and 8 squared is 64. Okay, so what I have here is going to be x minus 1 squared plus y minus 8 squared is equal to, what's negative 39 plus 64 plus 1? 20, huh?
26.
You sure?
Yes.
64, 65, what is it? 26. Normally they give you nice values to work with. Okay, give a circle that with center A. So the coordinates of A is going to be 1 and 8. Okay? And the y-intercepts at those values. So how do you work out the y-intercept? The y-intercept, let x equal to 0. So if x equal to 0, you'll have 0 minus 1 squared plus y minus 8 squared is equal to 26. You take, that will give you 1. You take 1 over, becomes minus 1, which gives you 25. Okay? The square root thereof will give you plus minus 5. You take negative 8 over, becomes 8 plus minus 5. So y is equal to 8 plus 5, which is 13. Well, y is equal to 8 minus 5, which is 3. But they told you that q is greater. So that is 13. 3 is definitely less than 13. So therefore, p is 3 and q is 13. Okay. So what I did here, you didn't need that at the school. Okay. But definitely we will use it later. Then the question says, let's take us off here since I got those values there again. In 7.2, we are told to show that the point lies on the circumference of the circle. So what we do is we sub d into the left hand side of the circle, or I can substitute it into here. I'm rather going to substitute it into here. If the answer after substitution in the left hand side, if the answer after substitution is equal to 26, it lies in the circumference of the circle. If it's less than 26, it lies inside the circle. If it's more than 26, it lies outside the circle. You guys understand? So, sorry? If you want to substitute 2 and 13 here into this equation here, and the answer comes to an answer equal to 26, then that means you say that this d, which is 2 and 13, 2 and 13 is lying on the circumference of the circle. That's basically what it means. If the answer after substitution is less than 26, then it lies inside the circle. If after substitution is more than 26, which is on this side here, then it lies outside the circle. Okay? So let's do the substitution quickly. So it's going to be 2 minus 1 squared plus 13 minus 8 squared is equal to, is 1. 13 minus 8 is 5. So the answer is 26. So what can we say now? Therefore, d, which is 2 and 13, lies on circumference of circle. There we go. Okay? You understand? Alright, so let's look at the next question. The next question in 7.3 proves point B. So what's the coordinates of B? 0 and P, which is 3. A, remember A we're going to draw from here, which is 1 and 8. I've got this wrote that down already. And what's the other point? D are collinear. What's the coordinates of D? D is 2 and 13. People, what does collinear mean? Lies on the same line, which means to say the gradients are the same. So you work out the gradient of AB. You don't start off by saying the gradient of AB is equal to the other gradient. No. You first show that the gradients are equal by calculation. So it's going to be 3 minus 8 over 0 minus 1, which is minus 5 over negative 1, which is 5. Then you got the gradient of AD. The gradient of AD is going to be 13 minus 8 over 2 minus 1. 30 minus 8 is 5 over 1, which is 5. You see the gradients are the same. So you say, since we state the obvious, the gradient of AB is equal to the gradient of AD, which is equal to 5. Therefore, A, B, and D are collinear. Collinear. Alright. Let's look at number 8. It's a fairly large sum. Okay, I've got very limited space here as well. But we are told that in the diagram shows a circle with center at the origin passing through A, which is negative 10 and 0, B, D and E, C, which is 8 and negative 4 is the midpoint of AB. Then we are told that BOD is the diameter. BOD is if that's the diameter, what we know? We know that angle is 90 degrees. Why? So it's angle in semicircle. Okay. Then we are told that, right, 8.1. Determine the coordinates of B. Now if you're looking at the coordinates of B, we have something like this here, where B is at the end, we have C, which is negative 8 and 4, and we have A, which is negative 10 and 0. Alright, so let's make B, X and Y. Remember, it's now an end point here. So X plus negative 10 over 2 must be equal to negative 8. That's over 1, we cross multiply. So X minus 10 is equal to negative 16. X is negative 6. Let's do the same for Y. It's going to be 0 plus Y over 2 is equal to 0 plus Y over 2 is equal to 4, yes. So you cross multiply. So 0 plus Y is Y. 2 times 4 is 8. So therefore B's coordinate is negative 6 and 8. Let's look at number 2. It says determine the equation of AB. So that should be simple. So the gradient of AB is going to be 4 minus 0, or I could have said 8 minus 0, over negative 8 minus 10. Or I could have said negative 8 over, negative 6 over negative 10. Negative 6 minus 10. So of course that's going to give you 4 over 2, which is 2. Does it make sense? Yes. The gradient is positive. So what do we say now? Y is equal to 2x plus c. Now to calculate c, I must substitute the point on this graph, which I do have. There are many. I'm going with a, which is negative 10 and 0. So this is 0 is equal to 2 times negative 10 plus c. Negative 20, so c is 20. Y is equal to 2x plus 20. So I'm going to equal to 2x plus 20. This in case we need it, okay? This is negative 6 and 8. In 8.3, they ask you to determine the coordinates of D. Now again, that is now the end point of again a line segment that is that is equal there. Why is OD equal to OB? Your radius. So then that means to say your origin, which is 0 and 0, is the center of that point there, where B is negative 6 and 8, and we have D. So what do we say? Negative 6 plus, if that's a x and a y. So negative 6 plus x over 2 is equal to 0. So that's over 1, we cross multiply. Minus 6 plus x times 1 is minus 6 plus x. 0 times 2 is 0. So therefore x works out to be 6. Does it make sense? Yes. Now the positive part of the x-axis. I'm just writing on here because I have the space constraint. Okay. So we got 8 plus y over 2 is equal to 0. That's naturally over 1, so y going to be negative 8. Okay. So let's change the color now. Then, in 8.4, the question says determine the equation of AD. So AD, remember that is simple. We got 2 points. So the gradient of AD is equal to 0 minus 8 over minus 10 minus 6, which is simply 8 over negative 16, which is negative half. So what's my equation? Y is equal to negative half x plus c. To calculate c again, I need a point on this graph. I'm going to go again with 10. So a is negative 10 and 0. So that's going to give you 0 is equal to negative half times negative 10 plus c. So that's going to give you 5. No? Take 5 over the equal sign, becomes minus 5. Okay? So y is equal to minus half x minus 5. Okay, 8.5. Prove analytically. Now if it says by analytical methods, because I already told you that OC, not OC, but they want OC. OC is perpendicular to AB. Now, we can say that it is perpendicular. Why? Because that is by center from center to chord. That's from Euclidean geometry rules. Not so. But if they say analytical methods, then I can only use distance, gradients, midpoints, and things like that. Now, if lines are perpendicular, what do we know? The products of the two gradients is -1. Now, to prove that lines are perpendicular, we now prove that the product of the two gradients is then -1. Okay, does it make sense? So we got the gradient of OC, changing y, we're changing x. So it's going to be 4 minus 0 over minus 8 minus 0, which is -1. Okay? This is that line there. That gradient is -1/2. Then the gradient of AB we've worked out already, not so. We must work out the equation of AB in 8.2. So the gradient of AB was worked out to be 2. Now to conclude this sum, okay, you must get this right here. We say that since the gradient of OC times the gradient of AB is equal to -1/2 times 2, which is -1. Can you see that? Therefore, OC is perpendicular to AB. Now I can put that perpendicular sign. Even if you didn't prove it then, okay, and that's the question, you can write it in the next question. Because majority of the time we're actually going to use it, okay. I think I wrote it on the wrong place, no? Nope. Yeah, it did. Didn't even write it in. So the gradient of OC was -1 times the gradient of AB, which was 2. Okay, I'm just writing it in. So because I'm erasing the working out all the time. In 8.6, okay, what's wrong? In 8.6, they ask you to determine the area of triangle AOB. So if you look at triangle whoops, we got AOB. Whoops, I drew the wrong thing earlier. No? The wrong gradient I worked out. Not worked out, but drew in. Okay, that is the gradient we worked out earlier. People for 6 marks, of course, there's some working out that needs to be done. Okay. So how do you work out? How do we calculate the area of a triangle? Base times height. So the area, 8.6, area is going to be of base, and my base here is AB, times the perpendicular height, which is OC. Can you see that, people? That is the reason why they asked you to prove that was 90 degrees. Okay? Because to work out the area of a triangle is half a base times perpendicular height. So it's going to be a half. Now to work out AB, distance formula. Okay, so let's go. AB is equal to distance formula, the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. These are the points in question. Okay? So that would give me, somebody work that out? That's 864. 64 plus 16. It's 100. 64. No, 80. Is that correct? Root 80 is going to be 80 is 16. 16 and 5. 4 root 5.
Yes, sir.
Right, that's 4 root 5. Then we go with the length of OC. Same story. So it's going to be -8 minus 0 squared. Remember, those two are the points in question. So it's going to be plus 4 minus 0 squared. It's going to give you 64 plus 16. Again 80, which is 4 root 5. Not so. Now, again coming back to the area is going to be half base, which is AB, which is 4 root 5 times your perpendicular height, which is 4 root 5. Okay, so it's going to give you half is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40 units squared. Okay. I wouldn't give you 6 marks, I would probably give you 4 marks or something. Okay. So I thought it's going to be much more calculations than that. Okay. Unless I'm giving you 2 here, 2, 4, which I think is awarding you unnecessary marks. Alright, 8.7. Find the size of BOE. B-O-E. B-O-E. Oh, B-O-E, yeah. That angle there. How do you work out an angle of inclination? That was the angle of inclination, not so. How do we work that out? By using tan of theta. So tan of theta, we call this theta for now, is equal to the gradient of BD. Did we work out the gradient of BD already? No. There's this line. We didn't work out this gradient, eh? So the gradient of BD is equal to change in y over change in x. These are the 2 points in question. Okay? So it's going to be minus 8 over 6 minus 6. So that's going to give you minus 16 over 12, which is negative 3 over 2. Check if that's correct. Minus 16 divided by 12. Huh? Negative 4 over 3. I know it's something. That's why I needed to check. But have I answered the question? No. So now you say tan of theta equals negative 4 over 3. So you say theta is equal to. So you put on a calculator, shift tan or arctan. Arctan, let's get it in the mode we need it. So you say arctan, we drop the negative. Why? Because we have a positive outlook on life, okay? Normal. Right, so we say shift tan or arctan of 4 over 3. Or if you put a negative there, then that is going to give you this negative angle here. Can you see that, people? Of negative 50 odd. Then how do we get this angle here? Since it's angles of the straight line, that's how we always say 180 plus. You guys okay with that? Otherwise, if we had dropped the negative, and then it would just be the positive angle in which you must then take it into the second quadrant. So the theta angle, or the angle of inclination, or the angle that they're referring to, which is B, OE, is going to be 126, 87. Okay, 126. Okay. Then it says determine the equation of the tangent of the circle at E. Very, very important question. Okay, so the equation of the tangent to the circle is, of course, the tangent is looking like that. At E. Alright. Since that is the center of the circle. Okay? The center is at the circumference of the circle. So that means to say from there to there, what is that distance? Okay, what's the distance from O to A? What's the distance from O to A? 10 units. So what's the distance from O to E? Also 10 units. Where's the register? You guys give me the register back also. Oh, Musafa is there. Yeah, Musafa is checking if you guys are actually attending. What are your names on there? Okay, you can't do it because otherwise I think it's a joke. Did I say take it? Alright, let's go with number 8. So, what would the equation of this tangent be? Since it's parallel to your y-axis, x is equal to 10. Not so? What would the equation of the tangent at AB? x equal to minus 10. What were the equation of the tangent at... can I not rotate this? What will the equation of the tangent at this point be? Whoops. That point. Y is equal to 10. At this point here? Negative 10. Okay, so know that. When it's going through or parallel to those points here. Determine the coordinates of the point where the tangent found in question 8.8, which is x equal to 10, intersect the line AD. So if you're looking at the line AD, what was the equation of this line AD? Did we work this equation out? Yes, so what's the equation of AD? The equation of AD, somebody give it. Y is equal to negative AD. The gradient of AD is equal to negative 8 minus 0 over 6 minus 10. So it's going to be negative 8 over 16, which is negative half. So the equation of AD, Y is equal to negative half x minus 5. So where the equation of AD cuts this line going through there, of course it's there somewhere. Okay. So we're going to substitute x is equal to 10 into this, so y is equal to negative half times 10 minus 5, which is negative 5. Minus 5 is negative 10. Okay? How do you get the x value is 10 and the y value is negative 10. So that point of contact here is 10 and negative 10. Does it make sense, people? You see, the nice thing about analytical geometry, the coordinates is really a good guide from you. Because I look at this point here, it's 6 and negative 8. And see this point here, which is 10 and negative 10. Which is on the right of 6, which makes 10 correct. And the negative 10 is below negative 8, which also makes that correct. Even by the looks of it, you can see if you are right or not. Okay. That's why paper 2 is so easy. No? Just love it. No? Did you answer the question? No, they want coordinates. So the coordinates is 10 and minus 10. Alright. Determine the equation of the tangent of the circle at D. So the equation of the tangent of the circle at D. D. Right. There we go. So the equation of the tangent, very important question, 4 marks in almost any end of the year paper 2. Always. Okay. You must know how to do this. We firstly work out the gradient of the radius, or OD in this case. So the gradient there is going to be changed in y with change in x. These are the 2 points in question. So it's going to be negative 8 minus 0 over 6 minus 0, which is negative 4 over 3. So what's the gradient of the tangent? We know that the gradient of the tangent times the gradient of the radius will always be negative 1. So it's going to be negative 4 over 3 times the gradient of the tangent, negative 1. So the gradient of the tangent is 3 over 4. Not so? My equation now reads y is equal to 3 over 4x plus c. Now to calculate c, I can only substitute the point that's lying on this graph. And the point that we're going to substitute, of course, is d, which is 6 and 8, negative 8. That's the x and the y. So negative 8 is equal to 3 over 4 into 6 plus c. Okay, which now implies that that would be negative 8. That would be negative 8. Negative 8 minus 3 over 4 times 6 gives you negative 25 over 2. So therefore the equation that they're looking for, the equation of the tangent to the circle at D is 3 over 4 x minus 25 over 2. Okay. You all okay with that? A lot of marks involved here, people. They don't ask you all these questions in an exam, but these are the type of questions they do ask, of which they ask. Take him away. You didn't sign. You see, now you didn't sign. Did everybody else sign? Open. You didn't sign. Alright? Don't want to sign. There's nothing to do with money. Right, let's just do one more sum and then we got two more, okay. We just rip through it and then we'll spend the other half an hour on that she wants. Right, number 9. Number 9. People, this work is beautiful, no? Beautiful. I found out. No? We are told points A, which is -5 and 3, B, -3 and -3, C, 5 and 3 are the vertices. Vertices are the endpoints of the triangle, or vertices of triangle. Then we are told 9.1, the length of BC in terms in third form. So BC. So BC, the distance is going to be the square root of those two points are in question. So it's going to be 3 minus 3 squared plus 5 minus 3 squared. That gives us what? 636. 8 is 64 is 110. Just check if that's correct. Right, now I'm feeling better about myself. Right, that's BC. So I put 10 there. The midpoint of BC. Okay, that's straightforward questions. Why do you ask me to do this? BC is the midpoint, is somewhere there. So how do we calculate midpoint? x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So the midpoint, let's call it m for now, is going to be 5 plus -3 over 2. And 3 plus -3 over 2. That's going to give you 0. And that's going to give you 2 is 1. 1 and 0. So which means to say it's there. That's your midpoint. Okay, all okay with that? Right, is that correct? Somebody must just follow, eh? So if I make a mistake, you can just stop me. So the midpoint there is going to be 1 and 0. The next one. The equation of the median of the triangle ABC drawn from A. Now the median, people, the median is going to be this line here. What is the median? The median is a line drawn from one vertex to the other side, the midpoint of the other side. That's the median. Right, so you can make this note here, if it's A, B, C, and this is your midpoint. And there you got the line, this is called your median. Okay, then the other one that looks like this, and that is your 90 here. This line here, you got the PQR. Then this line here is your altitude. Okay, but they don't ask you to work out your median or work out your altitude without explaining next to the sum what it is. Okay, so they always tell you what it is. Alright, what your median and what your altitude is. So let's carry on. So the equation of the median BC drawn. So what is this? Do we have the midpoint? Yes. So in other words, we are working the equation of line AM. In other words, that's your median. Okay? So it's going to be the gradient of AM is going to be 0 minus 3 over 1 minus 5, which is minus 3 over 6, which is negative half. Okay? Then you substitute. So you got y is equal to negative half x plus c. So here we will substitute. Substitute either A or M. M would have been easier. So it's going to be 3 is equal to negative a half into minus 5 plus c. So that's going to give you 3 minus 5 over 2, which is 6 is 1 is 2 is half. So y is equal to minus half x plus half. Okay. So that's the equation of this line here. Y is equal to negative half x plus half. negative, no? Alright. Let's look at the next question. Again, people, this is all these revision test topics. The exams are very, very similar to this. The only thing that changes is the numbers. So if you want to know a topic well, go through the revision test topic of any section. Okay, it will prepare you well for what is to come. The next one, the equation of the circle with the diameter CD. Right, let's change the color. So the diameter of the circle, the equation of the circle with the diameter BC. So in other words, the circle is going to look like it. That's all. So if you visit the diameter, then that is your center. Is the center at the origin? No. So it follows the formula. X minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. So the center of the circle is 1 and 0, or it's actually m in this case. It will give me x minus 1 squared plus y minus 0 squared is equal to r squared. Now to calculate r, I'm going to substitute one of the points on the circumference of the circle. So I'm going to substitute c, which is 5 and 3. So this is x and a y. I could have either gone with c or b. So it's going to be 5 minus 1 squared plus 3 minus 0 squared is equal to r squared. So 5 minus 1 is 4, squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, it's 25, so r squared is 25. I don't have to take the square root thereof, because I need r squared. So it's x minus 1 squared plus y minus 0 squared, which is y squared is equal to 25. That's the equation of that circle. Alright. Next thing. The question says, determine whether or not, this is number 5, determine whether or not the point A lies outside, inside the circumference of the circle. So what do we do here? If I substitute A into the left-hand side of the equal sign, this is exactly the same as the sum we did, not exactly the same, but the same idea is being tested. If I substitute that into the left-hand side of the equation of the circle, and the answer comes to be 25, then what do we know? It's on the circumference of the circle. If it comes to be an answer less than 25, what does that mean? Inside the circle. More than 25? Outside the circle. So let's go, left-hand side. So it's going to be, again, it's an x and a y. So it's going to be minus 5 minus 1 squared plus 3 squared. This is your left-hand side. Which is 636 plus 9, which is 45. Is that more or less? It is more. The left-hand side is more than 25. So what does that mean? Lies outside. So therefore, A lies. Just check if that's correct. Why am I writing outside twice? Outside of the circle. People, you guys understand? So remember, they gave you now one where it's lying on the circle, and they gave you one where it's lying outside. Last question. No, second last. 9.6. The question says the coordinates of D, so that A, B, C, D. Also very, oh my word. Also very important question here. They want you to work out D so that this Mickey Mouse can be a parallelogram. So what I do is I do the following. I do, right, so this is A which is negative 5 and 3. B, I go in the order that they have, as negative 3 and negative 3. C, 5 and 3, and D. Okay, they want you to work out D, or calculate D. So, you see, the one property of parallel, you can do this many ways. Okay, you can work out the midpoints, going with the fact that the diagonals bisect each other, which means to say the midpoint of this diagonal will be the same as the midpoint of this diagonal. So you work out the midpoint of that first, and you work the converse of that midpoint application, the reverse of that midpoint application. That's one way. But the easiest way I do, what I find, is by inspection. Remember that that length is equal and that length is equal. It's also a property of a parallelogram. So you ask yourselves, okay, how do I move from -5 to -3? You're adding 2. So this line here, you're adding 2. So if I go in this direction, 5 minus 2. What's 5 minus 2? 3. So that is 3. Can you see that? How do I move from -3 to 3? You're adding 6 when you're moving in that direction, not so? So I must add 6 going in this direction. So what number is this? 3. 3 plus 6 is? 9. And there's D. Okay, that's fairly simple. Just check if that's correct.
Yes, sir.
Right, good. Now I feel better about myself. And the last one of this category, 9.7. How much time we got left? We have no time. And with the magnitude of BAC. The magnitude of BAC. Whoops. No, man. I don't know why the car calculated this thing's acting up like this. Probably because, you know, we have visitors. But we're glad you're here, no? We're glad you're here.
Me too, sir.
Yeah, next time when you're feeling better, you can come to the board and you can do a couple of sums on the board.
Maybe, sir.
Huh?
Maybe.
No, maybe, yes.
Sure.
Good. Nice. The magnitude of BAC, people, very important. BAC, which is this angle here. So what I do is I say, okay, let's see, what can we do here? If I draw the axis here, right? Well, I don't need that line going across. So this line here would actually give me the size of this angle. Not so. Will give me the inclination of that angle. So it's actually the angle that's going down, the negative angle. Can you see that? So what we do is you say the gradient of AB is equal to what's the coordinates of A? So it's going to be 3 minus minus 3, which is plus 3 over minus 5. Didn't we work this out already? 6 over minus 2, which is negative 3. We didn't work this with this value out yet, no? Right, so now we say tan, let's call this this theta, no? So it will be tan of theta is equal to negative 3. So when you go arctan of negative 3, that gives you negative 71, 56 plus 180, that gives me 108. So theta is 108, this is what we normally do, not so. So that angle is actually this 108,43. But they actually want this angle here. Can you see that, people? So it's either you see it straight, it's the negative angle, or we work as we normally do it, and then we say, okay, it's angles on the straight line. And it's going to give you 180 minus. So therefore, BAC is equal to 71, something. 180 minus 71,57. Yes, Michael?
If we get a negative angle, we always add
At 180. Why? Because why? Remember that if it's an obtuse angle, if the gradient will be negative. Okay, so the gradient will be less than 0, which means to say negative. But what result is this? It's that actually an angle that is greater than 180. Can you, not 180, greater than 90, but less than 180. So by having a negative angle, is actually this angle that is worked out. So that angle is actually negative 71,57 from the horizontal. Can you see that? But because I drew this line going through like it, it's actually the what's the name angle? Depression angle. The angle that goes down. You understand? Huh? Alright, let's carry on to the last one. I'm not going to do the calculation because we're just going to go through it. Then we're going to do something different. Okay. Okay, the circle with the equation x squared plus y squared minus 4x plus 2y. Yeah, that is a very good question. Determine the center of the circle. Okay, we just do it again. Okay, determine the equation. So we got the x squared plus minus 4x plus y squared. What I'm doing is I'm calculating the center of the circle. That's almost a given to do, okay? Just makes your life so much easier. So this is going to be a half times 4, which is 2 squared, which is 4. And then that would be plus 1 squared, which is 1. So this question comes to be 5 minus k on that side. And that would be a perfect square trinomial, which is x minus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared. Right, here's answer. Determine the center of the circle. So the center of the circle is 2n minus 1. Right, let's go 10.2. The value of k. The circle with center passes through the point. Right, determine. So what we'll do is we'll substitute 1 and 3. Remember, if it's lying on circumference of the circle, it's going to be an x and a y value. Not so. The center here, of course, is 2n minus 1 for C. So that into circle. So I'm going to substitute into that point there. So it's going to be 2 minus 2 squared plus what? 1. I'm thinking now. Otherwise, that they have to lie in line with it. So it's going to be 1 minus 2 squared plus negative 1. We're getting the same story. I'm looking at a different point. Sorry. It's going to be 3 plus 1 squared equals 5 minus k. Not so. So that's going to give you 1. 4 squared is 16. 17 minus, what's 17 minus 5? 12. So k is negative 12. Let's check if that's correct. Alright. So therefore now my circle reads, that's what they're looking for. No? It's going to be x minus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared is equal to 5 minus 12 is going to give you 17. Okay. You sure it's negative 12, no?
Yes, sir.
Alright, let's go to 10.3. So in 10.3, determine the radius of the circle in third form. The radius, remember this is what people, this is r squared, not so. So what is the radius of the circle? Square root 7. I can't believe they're asking you this today, like insulting your intelligence, no? Is that how you felt when they asked you that question? Yes, nice. And then 10.4, the last one. Equation of the normal to the circle. Now, we don't do equations to normal. Okay, we are abnormal. No? Right. So what we do is I will do just work out for the last time the equation of the tangent to the circle at that point. I'm not going to spend time on things that don't ask us. Not so. So the radius will always be what to the tangent? Perpendicular. So you work out the radius, the gradient of the radius, which is 3 minus 1, which is plus 1 over 1 minus 2, which is 4 over negative 1, which is negative 4. So the gradient of the tangent times the gradient of the radius will always be negative 1. So that negative 4 times the gradient of the tangent negative 1, so you get a quarter up. So your equation is y is equal to a quarter x plus c. So at this point we substitute the point that's lying on the tangent, which is 1 and 3. So it's an x and a y. So 3 is equal to 1 over 4, 1 plus c. So c is going to be 3 minus a quarter is 2 and 3 quarters. So therefore, y is equal to 1 over 4x plus 2 and 3 quarters. Let's check if that's correct. What's the answer there?
The additive
They get the 4x. Oh yeah, but they worked out the normal. We're looking at the tangent. Alright, let's just spend 20 minutes quickly on that other section, so we'll end this video at this point, okay? Don't go! Oh, you got me nice! You're gonna surprise me tomorrow. Okay. So the question was with regards to